Cool. Hello everyone. Today we're going to be doing a 45 to 50-minute session covering the topic AI in digital ad creative. Should we dare? And really what we're trying to answer is, are we ready to use AI in our digital ad creative now, and to what extent we can use it? Obviously, as an agency, it's something we're speaking to our customers a lot about, and I'm sure everyone is speaking about it across the industry in various different forms. And if you're watching, you probably have questions. Feel free to submit them throughout the presentation and throughout the chat, and we'll do our best to respond to them at the end. Before I go in and introduce the speakers today, just a very small bit from me, just to tee up the topic, which I hope hopefully be helpful. And really, the easiest way for me to do the tee up is to think about two statements. The first of those is very straightforward. It's that there are many operational benefits to using AI in your digital creative process. Now, across idea generation, design, production, and obviously everything in between, it's pretty much accepted that AI has been able to reduce time and cost investment for businesses. Obviously, what it does for us, it streamlines, makes us more efficient, allows us to be more flexible, and of course, more scalable. But there is obviously a counter to this, and the reality of the situation isn't quite as straightforward. And that is captured by this second statement. There is evidence, or increasing evidence, of negative customer sentiment towards the use of AI. And it really boils down to this: when customers are able to tell that you're using AI as part of your creative process, it's impacting how they view your brand, and as a result, whether they buy from you or not. So what we'd like to just very quickly touch in on, and yes, there are some et als on the screen, which a lot of us might not have seen since university. But the idea here is it's a very recent study from the University of Zaragoza, and it was released in December, and it's analyzing exactly how people perceive real ads, so generated by a human, as opposed to AI ads generated by a machine. And then it looks at how customers behave around the real image versus the AI image. And the results ultimately back up the second statement that we've just looked at. Their analysis looked at how likely customers were to either use, so that's on the left, there's the left graph, meaning to buy a product or service, or recommend it to a friend, so the graph on the right. It then broke this down across two product service categories: hedonic, where decisions are made more on feeling, so think looking to buy a holiday, or utilitarian, where it's more needs-based, practical decisions, think I need to buy a Hoover. From both use and recommendation perspective, the real imagery outperformed the AI imagery significantly. And whilst the gap closed for needs-based products versus emotive options, you can still see that there's a big gap in terms of intending to use a product and also the intention to recommend. So again, similar graph, but looking at a slightly different segment of the data. The visualization looks at the amount of mental energy a consumer has to put into a purchasing decision with a brand. Low involvement, lower energy, lower value items, or if a customer is lower down the funnel and ready to purchase, for example. So yeah, we very much look at low involvement, lower funnel, very easy to go through to purchase, and high involvement is the complete opposite of it, which is higher value items. And if a customer is much higher up the funnel, and will take a lot more convincing work to be done in order to convince them to purchase. Now, this, I think, especially on the high involvement side, is really important for new brands. That if you're launching a new brand, you can't necessarily rely entirely on AI generated content, because it's going to take more to convince convince the user to come over to your site. Again, we see real imagery outperforming AI imagery in both use and recommendation scenarios. And this outperformance is magnified the more mental energy we need to put into considering how to feel or to interact with the advertising in front of us. So I said I would be brief, and I think that was about 5 minutes, so that was good. So what does it all mean for us? Ultimately, the benefits of using AI as part of the creative process are real. We can't hide away from that fact, but also so are the repercussions. If customers realize that it's part of your process, they generally don't like it, which puts us advertisers and marketers in quite a delicate position. To help me explore this today, we've got a great panel of experts with us. So Rachel, who's worked at many leading brands in the UK, Signet, Derek Rose, Radley. I'm sure basically there's no one better for us to help us understand the delicacies of how brands need to think about AI within their creative. And then we have Roshni as well, who is a founder of a creative agency and is tackling this question daily from productivity and ensuring relevancy of her agency. And I'm sure she'll talk a little bit about the creative tools that she's launching very soon. And finally, Kristen, lastly but not leastly, he has over 300, I almost said 30 million followers across his socials, and as a content creator, knows what lands and what doesn't land, probably better than anyone else. So looking forward to hearing his views on how he uses AI or doesn't use AI when producing content. And we'll be hearing from each of you very, very soon. But to kick us off, we're actually gonna watch an ad, which will pose a question to following watching it. So.
No fans, no cameras. Just this.
So, question, shall we start with Rachel? Rachel would be good. First of all, to answer this question, but then give your thoughts on what you thought of the ad.
I think it's AI. I think it's clever. I think because, and it might be that it's taken real content, and I think it's been enhanced by AI. And I think there's certain things that would be extremely difficult to catch in a camera. And I think despite potentially massive advertising budgets, I still don't think there's the value there that they would have used only photography.
Did you like it? Or?
I did. I think it's really engaging, and it is the sort of thing I think you'd go back and watch again, because I think the amount of detail in it, and I think that's really key to advertising as well, is does it have the propensity to make you want to watch it a second time?
And Rush, what were your thoughts?
Definitely AI. Maybe, as Rachel said, maybe parts of it enhanced for using AI, but using real imagery. It's creative, but it's not, I wouldn't say it's Nike based on the stuff they've done before. I think there's clearly a disconnect of who they always position themselves to be and this. Would I watch it again? Yes, just to pick out details of whether it's AI or not. But yeah, I think it's on the right track in terms of using AI, but I think with what Nike presents themselves to be and where their brand positioning is, it doesn't align, in my opinion. But yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And Kristen, did you get a chance to watch it? I know that there was
my phone randomly just turned off, but I'm back. And I was like, no, I came back in. It wouldn't let me connect my mic or camera, so I apologize, guys.
No, all good. All good. Did you get a chance to watch the ad?
No, I've not seen it. So would you be able to play it again if that's possible?
Yeah, of course.
Sorry,
we can
guys.
do that. Everyone says that they want to watch it again.
We said it's good enough.
No fans. No cameras. Just this.
And that's the question I'm asking first: is real or AI?
So initially, I would say I can understand why people would think that's real, but as it's a Nike campaign, I'm going to say it's not clean enough.
Okay, yeah. It's well, it is AI, and I actually cut the video early because there's a point at which it becomes even more obvious because one of the avatars is just not of high quality. It's interesting that everyone said that it's not very Nike generally.
Just not clean enough. But you can see it's crazy to think how people would believe that, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And Rachel, you said that there's certain shots as well that are very clear, which is something I've not thought about.
Some of it's very telling. I think when you initially see things, I think when you first watch it, you're watching it kind of as entertainment. Like we're so used to CGI and things in films these days. I think we're only questioning it at the point, I think, maybe even when it goes away from product and when it's things like the water drop, like the sweat droplets and stuff that they're trying to convey, that you go, well, yeah, you can't do that with film. But I think when it's people, I think we naturally have a tendency to think, first of all, I think you interact with people. So you kind of go, oh, and then it's only when, like you say, it becomes a bit more obvious. But I think at first point, we're just looking to be entertained. So I don't think we actually worry too much in the first instance.
Yeah.
Until it starts to go into the realm of kind of a bit of creative license.
Yeah, there's another Nike one that is like pretty. I don't know if anyone's seen it, but I got vetoed putting it in this presentation. But it's AI generated, but it's pretty brutal, and like definitely worth watching because Nike have been doing quite a few of them. Obviously, testing the waters.
Maybe we can all share later a list of ones that we found that are.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite?
Yeah, but I might save that one for later because there's a question I know you're going to ask me, which I want to reference in.
Cool.
Might be this
Firstly,
one.
yeah. So what for people who haven't watched any of our webinars before, what we like to do is to bring up comments of people on Reddit. It feels like Reddit is just a brilliant place to create, obviously, arguments on the internet and friction, and it's a great way to pose questions to people because there's obviously people out there that think certain things. So we picked a few posts today, one to challenge each of our guests. The first of which is for Rachel, and I know from conversations we've had that you think you need to be very careful around use cases of AI and rolling them out for brands. So firstly, wanted to know what you thought of this statement. Why do people have a problem with AI generated advertising? Nobody likes ads in the first place, and it's not like anyone actually watches or engages with product ads. Seems like the perfect place for AI generated content.
Yeah, a few things on this. And I think it depends as well what people mean by product ads. And I think there's a bit of a blurring of the line there as well, because we know that product ads work. That's why we all spend so much of our budget on them. You know, and I've worked in businesses where I can say, you know, at times I spend 30% on just Google product ads, 30% of my whole budget, you know, so they definitely work. So people do engage. I think there is also a place though where we see sort of more brand ads. And I think, so there's two things. There's the very clear-cut product where it's just about the product and you're just seeing that image. And I think it goes back to the slides you were talking about before and about whether it's hedonistic or utilitarian and is it, you know, is it functional? In which case, yes, you have got a bit of a problem with trust. Equally, ads themselves are just the hook. So, you know, you might do something on your ad that is one thing. If you were then trying to sell your product on the website, that would be a different thing. And I think that's what you're referring to. Yes, I'm very clear about I don't want anything that destroys trust on the actual website. But I think in terms of a hook, I think it made me think of Christmas ads. Although people say we don't engage with product ads, there's always great anticipation at Christmas. I think Sainsbury's BFG ad last year was brilliant. And I think it comes to that point where we were talking about the Nike one. Would I watch it again? I think the Coca-Cola ad were those things legendary. That sort of signals certain points in the year. So I think, AI now start to enhance those and give people a competitive advantage. In terms of good examples, there's a brilliant one. I don't know whether anyone's seen Original Source. It's called Nature Hits Differently. And that's selling shower gel. Now, how do you explain what that scent could be? And they've used AI really cleverly to bring that concept to life. So the product is the product, but what they've done is be able to enhance a perspective of the product and a key factor of a product, something like the scent or a texture or something and that's what Nike did very well in that advert was, the sort of animation that gives the sort of sweat and that feeling of movement and animation. So, I think AI is brilliant in contextualizing product. And I can see why people have an issue with actual product imagery that they might then go on to purchase it. Is that real and genuine?
And you touched on their enhancement versus full creation with AI. Where do you think it sits? Generally, do you think it should only be used for enhancement at this stage, or? I
think yes. I think when it's actual product, I think when you're actually selling a product, I think when you're creating a brand, that's slightly different. But I think actual physical product, because I don't see as a retailer how you can have trust because they want to see what they're actually buying. Now there's ways around that, and I think we'll probably talk through some of that later. But I think yes, it has to have some truth, some authenticity in the actual product. And I think even watching that Nike advert, we all recognize the Nike tick and the Nike product, and none of those products in the ad placement didn't look like they were Nike. Much as we said the polish might not be right, maybe the styling of it. I don't think any of us had an issue probably with how they'd utilized the product in the context was right. The product looked like Nike product.
No, I didn't have a problem with it. I wonder how much people are fascinated with it outside of the advertising industry. This is what I always wonder, because we're all of us agree that we want to rewatch it. But I just wonder how much other consumers are thinking.
That's why I think the Christmas ads is really key, because I do think that sort of moment, I think people do talk about them. People want to see what the John Lewis ad is going to be, and they look for it on YouTube, and newspapers announce it. And music that's featured in those adverts gets when they do a cover of a famous track, for instance, goes up in the chart. So there is definitely some place for it. And I think CTV is an interesting one as well, because as connected TV, you can't fast forward through them. Now, obviously, that's probably the moment you pick up your phone, but I think they are on repetition. So I think there is a sort of consciousness that they're useful for.
Yeah, for sure. I will crack on with the next statement to create a bit more fire. So, Rosny, I know you've started to use AI quite a lot, and it'd be lovely to hear a bit about that when you jump in and answer now. And when it comes to your creative outputs, this is becoming much more a center for your business. So what do you make of this person, or particularly angry person? What is the point of shitty AI ads that everyone hates and makes no one buy a product or service?
I think it's a very interesting statement. So not all AI ads are shitty, firstly. I think you can make them look pretty realistic, and then you can have some that just, you can tell. Like for us, watching the Nike ad, the lady screaming into, face onto the camera, you can tell that wasn't real. And it's moments like that where people go, oh, now you can tell it's AI. But I think there's a place for AI ads for smaller brands that don't have the budget, let's say bigger brands, to have that production and the editing and all of that kind of stuff. So I think it's useful for smaller to medium brands that want to try and compete, don't have the kind of budget for it. But I think you have to be careful in how you're using it, right? So getting a product and then, or a product image, and then enhancing it with AI, great. I've made campaigns using just AI where we kind of product place the actual product, have a specific model holding it or wearing it or interacting with it at some stage. And that doesn't look unrealistic, but I also get the point of the concept of shitty ads, because I think when you can tell, when you're trying to figure out whether something's real or not, I think it's kind of in the graphs that you showed, the time it takes for somebody to process whether it's real or not kind of fatigues the mind, and then they're not willing to purchase the product. So I understand that in a way it can be shitty if that's the person's neurological kind of process. But I think when you're making it real enough to where people are actually not realizing whether it's AI or not, then it's not shit, and it makes people buy. You know, there's plenty of brands out there that are doing it, and they're doing it pretty well and are making their, you know, customers and consumers buy the product. So it's a bit of both. Yes, you can get really shitty AI ads that I've seen before. You can get really good ones that make it feel really realistic. So, and I don't know. I always think that look, I come from a background of we have a small family business, right? So if I was working in that business and I was like, oh, we can use AI to increase our, you know, our footfall into the shop, or, you know, have people buy online, why wouldn't I try it? But I think it's key to understand what you're doing and what your consumers are looking for and how they buy, and then going through that process.
Yeah, for sure. And I like that you touched on a little bit there, but like essentially closing the gap between small and big companies. It obviously enables us to take a step up and be able to generate content much faster that maybe a smaller team wouldn't be able to generate otherwise. So, and potentially gives us more time to focus on other areas as well.
Absolutely. I think there's a place for AI, and there's maybe not a place for AI. You know, using AI to create pack shots of products that you have, great. If you don't have the budget or you're just starting out, you know, it gives people a bit more of an edge now to really try and create their own business, or, you know, do something of their own. But I think once you start going down the route of, you know, intimidating, or, you know, creating a celebrity or somebody in power, and like then using their face to then, you know, be in campaigns or whatever it might be, I think that's where you kind of go, oh, well, you kind of, there's a line there of ethics or impersonation, intimidation.
It's Martin Lewis, isn't it? It's Martin Lewis who keeps getting deep fake, telling people to give all their money away.
Yeah. So I don't really agree with this comment, but I do as well. I just think it's how you use it. And if you're going to make shitty AI ads, just what's the point? What is the point of that? You know, you can tell as someone who's creating something whether something looks real or fake. So
yeah, or good or bad, right?
Yeah.
So like if the rules don't need to change in the sense that if you used a human to generate the creatives and you looked at it and it was shitty, you would say, I'm not going to put that out. There's no way this is going live, so why not? Not the exact
It's
same.
the same concept, except I understand what people are saying. You're not really, okay, if you're doing a campaign shoot, you're not really using real models, you're not using a real scenario, you know, and all of this stuff. But at the same time, it's still the same concept. You're still promoting a product, or you know, whatever it might be. Yes, that person's not real, but if you do it right, can you tell? Can you really tell? I don't know.
Nice. Well, thank you for that. And then we got one final one. Kristen. I know, and it'd be good as well just to give a bit of background on maybe how you use AI generally in your day to day. I know when we've spoken, you've said that AI helps you a lot when it comes to developing ideas. So I thought I'd just read this person's comment on Reddit. Suspicious fan 6,800 here. Stop asking AI for niche ideas. It only knows what's already popular. How do you feel about this?
So I feel obviously you guys are more on the ad side of things, where mine's more of a personal use. It's like when a lot of people try to use AI for something that they couldn't do without AI, I feel like they should stay away from it. Whereas I've been making content online for 10 years now, so like I can live without AI. But it's like when I've got ideas and I can put my ideas in there and say, elaborate on this, maybe give me some different ways I can maybe make it better, or give me more ideas around this whole idea. Mm-hmm. And it's even down to like captions for YouTube. You know, if I've got a YouTube caption, I'll put it in there and I'll say, can you create this so it's more viral with certain keywords in? So I feel like it's like, if you can use it to enhance what you're already good at, why wouldn't you use it?
Mm-hmm. So you're more on the, I guess Rachel was touching on use it for enhancement rather than straight from the offset. Do you use it in any of your content directly, or do you purely using it ideation and enhancement side?
So yeah, so it's just enhancement what I'm already planning or things like that. So I think that's kind of like the best way it should be. Like you can spot when someone's using AI that's never used it before, because then you can obviously spot the errors and stuff. So I feel like the best way to use it is just kind of do what you're good at, and you can even make it 100 times better, you know? Like you've basically got someone working for you for free. And I feel like once you actually use it enough, it actually understands you and what you want and how you work.
Mm-hmm. And
I even use it, for as crazy as it sounds, like my AI is my chef. It gives me advice on how I should be cooking things, what I should be buying for my food. So I use it more in like a personal use and just kind of make my life a lot easier.
And do you think, like, I mean, a lot of your content is, I guess, it's very centered on it being real and you, right? It's very, very you. Like, how do you think people will react if you started enhancing your content, like, with AI, so your videos and everything that you post?
Yeah, so like I say, I basically put my ideas, I like think of some fun ideas to do, and I'm like, what ways could I make this better? And I feel like it's a very smart, AI is a very smart thing. Like I've got a lot of friends that use it for what they work in and stuff, and they say they wouldn't change it because it's literally like having someone else work for you for free. It's having like another brain. So for people that kind of think like that, I think it's kind of like it doesn't change what I'm putting out and what I'm creating. It's just adding to it.
Do you think if you actually used it in the videos themselves, like enhanced your videos, do you think people would
100%? Actually, you mean actually using AI content in my videos?
Yeah. How do you
think?
Yeah,
I would stay away from that completely. I would never ever do that, because I think people can read that from a mile away and they'll be like, what are you doing? I use it maybe more actually like the pre-planning, you know, the ideas, not actually the actual content itself.
Nice. And that is a real cat, Rachel, or an AI cat?
Yeah, that's a real cat. That's Coco.
My cat hasn't made a appearance yet, but I'd be very surprised if at some stage it doesn't appear in the back.
The discussion's so good. She wanted to come and see what we were talking about.
Cool. Well, thank you for answering those Reddit posts. Obviously, I have no idea how many people are following those people. I should probably check, but maybe 5 or 10 people a piece. So I wouldn't necessarily listen to everything that they say through and throughout. So now we're going to go on to a few more questions. So some of these topics we may have already touched on, but it'd be good to obviously chuck around and have a few thoughts on these as well. But where does AI in creative most often go wrong for brands and or for creators? So I think any examples you've got, or any situations you might have been involved in, if you can say, would be great. Does anyone want to jump in with this one?
Yeah, I can. I think the place it goes wrong, like the main and the first one I always say is people using it that wouldn't be able to have that job role or do that thing without it. You've got to have some understanding of what you're actually using AI for, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I think I've worked with a few people that are in, in the photography world, for example, or kind of direction of some sort, and they've used AI to kind of create their own version of it, just digitalized, where they're not actually taking those photos or having that creative direction, but because they have so much knowledge of lighting, kind of angles, things like that, they're able to use AI pretty well in terms of they really know how to manipulate it in order to get what they want, as they would if they were stood behind the camera. So definitely agree with what you're saying, Kristen, because I've seen them use it very well, and then I've seen people who kind of are getting started and want to dabble in it do an absolutely horrible job because they don't understand simple concepts of lighting, camera angles, model poses, and whatever it might be. So yeah, I definitely agree with that comment.
Yeah, I use it. I use AI a lot for like data analysis and looking at like how like even very like detailed things in terms of like impression share on keywords, and most of the time what I first get back from Claude is rubbish. And I think that like we'll often get from clients, hey, I've done this analysis and you should do all of what this says, and I'm like, this is all rubbish. This is all straight out of what Google would say. And it's the fact that I can spot it and then ask more questions that makes it valuable. So totally get that. Rachel, was there anything I thought
similar to that thing about the background, whether people have got the right background, but it's also like from a brand perspective, it's like whether you've given it enough criteria.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, have you locked in? So as Kristen said, like when it expands on things, it starts to know you, whether that's the recipe example or coaching you or something, it gets to know. So similarly, like brand evolution takes a long time, and you don't do it lightly, and you kind of tend to evolve rather than revolutionize your brand. So I think when you don't give enough criteria, I think that is a danger that it goes wrong, because it accelerates the process too much and maybe doesn't then do it organically. So I think it's the criteria, it's brand guidelines, it's all those things. And again, I think that idea of it looking fake, as Rusty said, like if you don't know about what lighting should look like from a photograph, and to your point about the data piece, you can't analyze it. So, there is the danger that everyone becomes an expert.
Yeah, I mean, this leads on to my second question, but earlier when we looked at the Nike ad, you immediately said some of those shots were not like possible, so it must have been AI. And I didn't notice that, as someone that probably hasn't been involved in product shoots as much. So as I say, leading on to the second question, can consumers and fans actually tell? And does it matter if they can or can't?
I'll take that one, because I think I'm not sure it's a new issue. And the reason I say that is I think there's the same feeling anyway about clothing on models, even just on a bog standard clothing retailer. There's this idea of, well, has it been pinned, or the way it's been styled, or has it been edited in post-production? So I think people are very used to that anyway, from the idea of, well, has something been photoshopped to make someone look slimmer or to take the creases out of a product. Sorry, that's back again. And I think those things are kind of a bit known anyway. So I think people are already a little skeptical anyway. So I think sometimes it doesn't matter, because I think there's a certain skepticism. And I think that's been a discussion for a long, long time. I do think it depends on the stakes involved. As a retailer, if there's a good returns policy, it might be less of a concern. It's true to life to customers, that can they return it and can they get a resolution quickly if it's not right? Equally, would I want to purchase a holiday from something that's not real? No, I want to see where I'm really going. So I think it depends on how high the stakes are in terms of how much it matters.
It's actually a good point, because it's like I've never even thought about everybody. There was a time in life where everybody exposed McDonald's and KFC, how they used to certainly stack their burgers correctly. That's like old day AI if you think about it.
Yeah.
I guess the way they trick people. I've never actually thought about it like that.
Yeah, we used to. I mean, but Tracy, we used to use models that the product was scaled on an average 5'10" male, but they wanted 6 foot models because the aesthetic they wanted.
Yeah.
So you'd have to sort of adjust the trousers down a little bit and sit on the waist. And it wasn't where they were designed to sit, but again, it was about that aesthetic and making it look, aspirational. But it wasn't necessarily the reality. So I think there's always been a slight manipulation anyway.
And how long do you think it lasts? Like, because obviously there's always a phase where people are getting used to things. So when people are getting used to, I think as Kristen was saying, people manipulating in like actual photography, like they do it with like all kinds of different techniques, and then with special effects, and now obviously with AI, do you think there's a point that people just stop caring?
Maybe not stop caring, but I think it is like the idea of we accept there's a certain amount of photoshopping and stuff anyway. So I think it's that same concept of more of an education of the general population that knows how to read an image and knows where to draw the line about what their expectation of reality is going to be.
I think it ties in well with, because obviously, do you know, for example, now how like people view social media, like everybody's brain is just literally you're scrolling videos, you forget quickly. I feel like that maybe the AI kind of represents that in a way where they need things done quick, fast, getting things out faster, whereas people don't actually appreciate something being done properly as much.
I think I think the attention economy, right? Like how much damage would it necessarily do? I think that's a interesting thought as well. If you are a brand and maybe someone is, or people are talking about the fact that you're using AI generated content, what's the likely damage it could do to your brand, and how long is that going to last?
And also it comes down to, if we're talking about, say, purchasing a product, if you order it and it comes and it's not as you expected, you will just return and you won't, you'll become skeptical about that brand. There is other things around it. So, it is about having maybe a size guide and those kind of other things. People aren't just using the imagery on its own.
Yeah.
So there is a little bit about the context in which it's used. If it's a hook and if it conveys something about a feel of the product, then that's great. I think as long as it's not misleading. Because otherwise it would be a false economy anyway, because you'd get that customer engaged only to disappoint them. Yeah,
and then you're not in the market for one purchase, return, and no lifetime value ultimately. Yeah. Rosh, it'd be good in terms of the next question. It'd be good to hear from you in what elements of creative ideation, design, and production process do you think AI is best suited to?
Best? I'm not too sure about best, because I think it exists in all of those aspects. And again, I am a big believer, it depends on how you are using it, right? If I'm going to use it for ideation very differently to Rachel, very differently to Kristen, and we're all going to get different outcomes from it. So I think it really depends on how you're using it and what you're telling it. And by those prompts, by that information you give is what you'll get. So for example, if we're working with an e-commerce brand, and let's say there's a campaign that needs to go out for spring or summer or whatever, we'll have those ideas, and then according to my ideas that I have, if I feed that into AI and like Kristen does, like enhance this, how can we make this better for our consumers, I'm going to get more out of it instead of going, I have a summer campaign, this is the brand, this is what I need, go. It's going to be very generic. Same thing with design. Currently doing a logo for a student accommodation, and I thought this would be fun. Let me just type in, this is what it's called, and create me a logo, create me a design asset, and it's very generic. It's very, very basic. It's probably not what my customer or my client is looking for. But I guarantee if I gave it a bit more detail as to what specifically I'm looking for and gave examples of what I am looking for, the outcome would be very different. So I think it very much depends on how you're using it and what you're inputting to get the output that you want.
The I don't know if anyone's seen those infographics of what logos used to look like pre-internet and what logos look like now since the internet's come around, and everyone's homogenized. You'll find like the everyone's got a single color, there's not multicolors, it's all the letters are written next to it. And the reason they've done it is because as you go over to digital, you can't have things getting pixelated. The old ones would look like royal stamps, and they'd be too intricate, and people couldn't use them. The reason I'm mentioning it isn't just me going off on a random tangent, but as we go into the world of AI, what do you think there are risks in terms of us all just becoming the same and just putting out the exact same content?
I think so. I think there's a risk of that.
Again,
everyone's. I don't really know. I think it's sad because I don't think people know how to be creative anymore. We're so reliant on AI and all of these tools to almost mimic our imagination and our creativity, that eventually we will get to a point where this is just another tool that everyone uses to do whatever it might be. So I definitely think that that's probably going to be the case, because I don't think people appreciate experts in their field, like, casting, photography, whatever it might be, designers. People don't see the value of them anymore because they think, oh, I've got AI now and I don't need them anymore, which is, it's not true. You do, you need those people with the expertise to guide you into creating what you want.
I think that's the trade-off, because when we talk about, the question before about what was the, benefits of AI and what elements do we use it for, it's great for someone like me who is not creative. I might be able to then articulate when I'm working with someone actually what I'm kind of thinking. So I might be able to get some sort of, it give me like a prototype or give me something, or to be able to sort of get board sign off by being able to us quickly show iterations of something to, for people who are not creative. But it comes to this point of there is a limit on that, and then we need really people to enhance that. So I think it's very useful for non-creatives, but commercial people that need to work with creatives to kind of maybe bridge that gap to, words that I couldn't find or things I couldn't explain, I could maybe get out of AI. It's really useful for me. It's been able to open up new channels and things, because we've been able to do things like animation of things that would have cost us too much to create more video content. So that goes back to everything we've said all along, that it needs some basis and foundation. So I think for me as a non-creative, it could give me some foundations, but it's never going to be good enough or at the right standard or add to something that the likes of Russian and Kristen could do. And I think that's, very different use cases depending on the level of expertise you've got coming at it.
For sure. And then Kristen, could you, in terms of what you're currently using AI for, which is mainly the ideation, could you see yourself using it more?
Because obviously I use it for different purposes. Like mine's not like the ads, is more just kind of day-to-day stuff. But I can see a world where everybody's using it. Like even like friends that I know, they use it to kind of like be their second brain, If I'm second guessing the question, I'll just run it by AI. If I need to go over a contract, I'll just send it. You can literally send contracts to AI and say, bullet point this, the easiest thing. Yeah. So get a point where everybody's using the same sort of stuff to answer the same questions. So we could technically all fall into one eventually, It is quite scary.
I'm currently using it to dispute a car rental claim that I dented a car, which I didn't, and Gemini is helping me a lot. Someone told me the other day that AI is speeding up everyone's jobs apart from lawyers.
Yeah, brilliant.
But it's like, so for example, I was meant to get a flight like 2 weeks ago to Qatar, and it got cancelled because of everything that was going on.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And so they sent my money back, but they gave me £1,000 charge for a cancellation fee, and I'm like, you cancelled it. So then my friend was like, speak to AI, tell it everything. And so speak about every question that you might come across when you're on the phone to them. So you have literally an answer to everything. So you can actually get it down. So you can break down a whole conversation for what's even happened and you have your answers ready. And it's done within seconds. So it is quite crazy how like you can literally have, it's just having, like I say, a second brain and someone working for you for free.
Yeah, no,
I
it's
never
amazing.
even go to Google no more. Instantly, just AI, just ask it, and it will tell me within seconds what I need to know. But the thing is, everyone, even including myself, you instantly believe what you're told, which might be the scary thing.
Yeah, especially because they tell us how great we are in the first sentence.
Yeah, yeah.
They're so special.
Like
and important.
they're always being so nice. But I've heard like if you ask it, if you tell it, be honest with me. So I actually done it recently. I was like, can you tell me my traits, where I'm going wrong, and what I should change? And I read this paragraph, and I actually felt hurt. I was reading it, and the things it was saying about me, and I'm like, wait, it's actually insane. But what it was saying, I actually believe.
Yeah,
It's scary, yeah. So yeah, if you think you're getting in deep with your AI, ask it, what am I doing wrong? Be honest with me, and it will tell you.
You can get it. We seem to have lost Chris a little bit there, but you can tell any like of the AI chatbots to roast your like social pages. So if you get your LinkedIn page or whatever, put it in there and tell it to roast you. It can really go for you. It's horrible.
Sounds like a humbling experience.
Finally, and very quickly, I was going to say something that's not spoken about enough when we're talking about AI, and then I've left basically no time to talk about it. So it's probably not a great thing. But what guardrails should brands be putting in place and creators be putting in place to ensure that they can use AI in their creative process and it not have the repercussions that we've spoken about, potentially from other angles as well as just people not buying the products?
Definitely a style guide. You've got to teach it. I mean, that's the thing with AI, isn't it? We've said, would you get something generic? Yes. There's a brilliant example where Heinz actually tested it, and they were using it as a sort of brand, to highlight the scale of their brand. Was they put ketchup into AI, and it basically keeps generating a version of a Heinz ketchup bottle. But so there is that danger that you're going to get something generic. Definitely need a style guide so that it doesn't evolve in a way that you don't intend. And I think, then it doesn't morph over time. And then everything we've talked about, going back to proofreading, how do you check the data? Because, what Chris had said earlier, if you don't know anything, how do you know if it's telling you the correct thing? It's going to tell you what you want to hear, unless you're very clear that you want the critique. How do you stop it hallucinating? All of those things so those are the guardrails. It's the sort of before and after of what you're using, not so much what AI itself is doing. It's how you control it at the front end and back end of the process. And
I think a guardrail should be like there should be a rule like only use it, like I say, if you can do that without actually using AI and understanding where, like, because I see a lot of like sort of smaller brands doing certain things, posting, and you can see even down to the basics. The basic one is you can see when an image is created because it's got that yellowy, ready kind of filter over the top of it. Like even brands, it's like understand, because I feel like when someone's posting something clearly AI, you don't respect their kind of brand as much or whatever they're promoting. So I feel like the brand, one of the skills that should be like know what you're doing and understanding if it looks and doesn't look good.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, I think with bigger, I think it definitely strips away trust as a consumer. Valentino did a handbag campaign, and it was like AI.
Really?
It involved AI, and I think when luxury brands specifically using AI, and maybe you can tell, again, it's that neurological thing, like can you figure it out, can you not? I think it definitely, as a consumer, just breaks that trust that you have with those brands, especially the luxury brands, in my opinion anyways. I don't know.
Cool. We're actually out of time. We're a minute over. Apologies. I've just got a tiny bit of wrapping up to do, and then can everyone can go. Firstly, yeah, it's clear from our discussions today that AI can't do everything, or at least not yet, and shouldn't be picking up our full creative pipelines. I think some of the themes that people have touched on today is enhancement ready, and so we can use it for enhancing different aspects of the pipeline, whether that's ideation, design, production, but certainly by the sounds of it and from our experts here, not end-to-end creation at this stage. Need expertise in order to use it in the first place. This is something that continuously came up. I like the idea that it can close the gap between small and big companies, and obviously give us time to focus on other areas. And I think Kristen at the end said, only use it if you can already do the thing you're asking it to do. Again, just ties up the same theme that we were discussing earlier, whereas if you have the expertise, then it's more productive to use it. Finally, just one final shameless little plug. I apologize. I hate it when people do this, but I'm going to do it. We've got a creative tool that we use in our platform and for our clients. Effectively, just enables you to upload various very basic elements. Just on the topic of our conversation, it 100% does not do any of the creative elements. It is basically an arrangement tool. So it is not end-to-end, but it just helps us move things around. And once we've got images to set up A/B tests, can automatically generate assets, automatically generate variations. We can do 50 plus creatives in about 12 minutes, and it costs about £1.50 to do all of that. Just to give you an idea in terms of the cost for us, compared to I guess getting someone in to do all of that themselves. Again, well, firstly, apologies for doing a shameless plug at the end, but I actually had to do it. My marketing team wouldn't let me get away with not having some sales element within this. But thank you so much to all of our guests. Thank you to Rachel, to Rosh, and to Kristen. It's been amazing and brilliant to go through and see all your own perspectives. Interestingly, even though you're all coming from different I guess angles and for different sections of the industry, pretty much all align in terms of where it shouldn't be being used, which is great to see. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thanks, Fred.
Perfect. Have a good day.
Fred.
Cheers. Bye.